Thanks for joining us on the show. I'm so excited to have Tim Jones. He is a Tennessee mountain rocker and he's a singer, songwriter, musician. And he's joined us today. We're going to talk about his journey, his crossroads, and his music. Thanks, Tim, so much for being here.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I need you to define, before we go anywhere, Tennessee mountain rocker or Tennessee mountain rock, I should
Oh,
say.
well,
How would you describe that for those who don't know?
yeah, well, hopefully it'll be describing it over the course of this album I'm working on right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, the thought behind it was, it depends on how deep I want to go here, but I was always, when I first started playing, I was really trying to do like rock more, but every time I like sang something or wrote something, people were like, oh, so it's more of like a country rock kind of thing,
Okay, that's
you
funny.
know? And then, and especially if I write something, people are like, "Oh, it's country," and I was like, "Well, it's rock, though." And I've seen that a lot of people say they do like country rock, and so definitely use that phrase a little, but wanted to find something unique. And I'm from kind of the hills of Tennessee, the Cumberland Plateau there, and so give it some personal characteristic.
I think that's awesome. And I love that. Okay, we're going to get into that in a little bit because I want to
Yeah,
hear about your new album.
yeah.
But I want to go back. Like, what do you think? What was the first spark for you for music at all? Do you remember, or was it a
It's
big moment, or just like
no, I don't.
life?
Yeah, I don't. It's hard for me. I can't think of it being a big moment. Like a lot of people, um, primary, relationship with music was church, like early
Hmm.
on. And I'm from a very, at least where I went to church, like rural area, mountain kind of thing. It's almost like bluegrassy, I guess. And my grandpa was like the song leader.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's
then
so fun. In your church that you grew up in?
yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. And it's so that was probably be like, I guess, the first relationship to music. And definitely as a kid, even like, if I went to see live music, I would be thinking like I want to do that. But I didn't really have any sort of like realistic,
Hmm.
like, it's just like a fantasy, I guess, not something to actually like try to do.
Hmm. Kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, that'd be cool,
Yeah, or like, oh, that's
maybe.
it's awesome, but like that's like something that only, happens to other people kind of thing.
So what was your first instrument or introduction,
Well, probably just
maybe?
like singing because I did always was in like choir and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but I was not much a musician, still not. So yeah.
Yes, you are.
Oh, I
Oh
appreciate it,
my word, I've seen you.
but
I've seen you out. You're great.
yeah, I'd say like just singing with the choir and stuff like that.
Okay. And so when did you first pick up the guitar?
Well, I asked for one for my 16th birthday, and so I've owned, okay, not that one, but I've had one. I still got it since then. But I slowly started just learning chords and stuff, and then would put it down, maybe even for like years at a time, pick it back up, that kind of
That's okay, so that gives me hope.
thing. Yeah. Oh no, for
Seriously.
sure. Yeah.
Because I've said on here before, a friend of mine interviewed me. She goes, "People need to know about you and music." And I was like, "Okay, not really, but okay."
Yeah. No, I mean,
And I was like, "I've tried guitar. I know 3 big chunks in my life, and
mhm.
every time I get to usually it's a bar chord, and I go, 'Yeah, I'm done.'" And I put it down. So I said, "I'm committed again." So I'm glad that you said you picked it up and put it down because a lot of people in music, you hear the story of they picked it up and it became their life and that's all they did.
Mhm.
And so it's encouraging to me and probably anybody listening, that is kind of like, I play with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No, it definitely was not the case. Certainly far from a prodigy or anything.
well,
Yeah.
you are very good. So when was your first cuz you've been in a band,
Mhm.
and when did that start for you? When did the whole band life, how did
Yeah,
that
and so I would
develop?
say like pretty late. In fact, the reason we called wasted majors because I was wasting my degree doing it and stuff. And that was about 5.5 years ago is when that kicked off. But at first, it definitely I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be like a career path or anything. It was just fun, and
That's great.
and it was like, oh well, maybe it can
I'll
be.
do it. I'll
Yeah.
do it. And so what was so I know that you have been, when did you start writing music?
So that would be like the other thing, if saying getting on stage and all that, at least as of recently, because I played in some other like little
Oh, you
bands
did?
throughout, yeah, just for
Mhm.
fun and stuff, over the years. Um, but start writing, you know, kind of taking this serious as a career path. That's pretty recent, but even on this album, there's going to be a song on there that a buddy and I wrote like 16, 17 years ago, and so
Love that.
at least probably I think of maybe the first song that I wrote completely that I would still almost be able to perform. I can't remember. It was probably you know almost 20 years ago, but it's not. It wasn't like I wasn't planning on playing it for anybody or anything, but you know,
I love that though,
yeah,
because it also tell it to me, it goes, you know what, we're all given the gift, the creative gifts we have, whatever they are,
right,
and they're never wasted,
yeah,
so to speak.
yeah,
And I love it that you've got material from years ago that you're
hmm
now going, you know what? And maybe you work on it more, maybe you don't. Maybe you
yeah.
go,
It
hey, this
needed a little
was
like
great.
polishing up, and
Need a little tweaking.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I we're gonna go into some other things, but I want to
Mhm.
hear about your album real quick before I
Right.
neglect to go there. So
Yeah. Well, it probably does fit into some more of the conversation, but it does have some like thematic underpinnings and things. I wouldn't call it a concept album or anything, but it's got a it's not telling a single story or anything, but I sort of view it as like a mosaic of
mm,
like stories that tell like a larger story. But like listening to any one song, you're not necessarily going to like know that at any time. And I probably think of it even as like probably multi-part album, like this whole like Tennessee mountain rock like sound we're trying to make. Um, but it kicked off with the first single last week, which was called or is called "The Man Upstairs."
which is a great
Um,
song.
oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. And it'll have 12, sort of like 13 songs on it. 12 with sort of a bonus like live track. And yeah, I'm excited to keep rolling it out. I'm gonna roll it out as singles for a while, and then
Mhm.
see if I can release it all. Which nobody advises you to do these days, but I'd still like to.
Okay, that good thing to go into. So tell me about that. Tell me about you're like, I've got this idea, I want to do this album. I've got 12, maybe 13. What is some of that advice that people have given you about how does that even work? Because I think it's fascinating. I'm a songwriter. I don't perform. I don't go out and play around town. Never will.
Yeah,
But I'm fascinated with friends who are releasing things now
yeah,
and how like kind of the backstory of that, because everybody has their own story,
yeah,
but it's pretty fascinating. It's not an easy, it's a lot of people look at all of this and go, it's so all of it's glamorous, which it's fun, but
well, if you can, I'm in the band van, so you can take a look at that and see how not glamorous it
oh,
is out there. So I still drive
oh, you
everybody around
are?
in. Yeah,
That's
that's why I
great.
got
I'll have
my
to go
daily
look at it.
driver because I don't have room to park it and my car at the house. So, okay, so yeah, the advice. Well, I guess it's like the age old tale of like, an artist has like a vision that they want
Mhm.
to like express and, get, maybe whether it's a message or an idea or, paint a picture or whatever it is. And then everybody that like does it for a living or is involved, and, because you have to make a living if you want to do it as a career, is like, well, you can't release an album anymore, unless you're like even the biggest people. And they're mostly not, they're mostly rolling everything out singles. And so everyone's advice is like, you can't do that. It's a waste. You got to release some singles and you got to roll out, all the content and all that, which I've done a pretty poor job at. But in a lot of ways, this is sort of my first song, and I feel a little under the gun just to like start getting a sound out there to,
Mhm.
kind of separate and identify. Um, but yeah, no, all the advice is definitely like, you got to release the singles in this, specific timeline and things like that, which
Is that kind of because of the streaming world we're
definitely,
in? Is that what's
yeah, yeah, it's all driven, by staying like relevant, keeping the numbers
yeah,
up and things like that.
I know. Some of that
Yeah.
like drives me nuts
Yeah.
because it's like I want to create.
Right.
I don't want to have to pay attention to the numbers and
It's
all
a
the things, but then, it's kind of a catch-22. You got to have all of it, but
right. I kind of describe it too as like dopamine hits because I tell myself and like try to like press it into my head as much as I can. Like, we'll
mhm.
dig deeper first, like go like deep and like find the people that like really, like want to listen to your music and identify with it and, the story you're telling and your lyrics and things like that. But it's right there for the taking to be like, it's easy to, submit your music like playlists and stuff just to like see the numbers like bump up and you're like, oh, I'm doing it, because the numbers, it's like, it's not really real because it's just sort of, inflated and, plays and all that. That's all part of the, marketing. And I'm not hating on it, but it's kind of like there's a lot of different ways to just sort of inflate things quickly to make yourself feel better and to get that rush of like, oh yeah, numbers, and the measure and everything like that. So it takes a lot of discipline to be like, no, don't chase that. Even if like stuff trickles down, it's like, well, if you're doing what you feel called to do and what you think you're supposed to be doing, then, you know, hopefully you won't be influenced by that.
Okay, that was such a good word. I was trying to be very quiet because that's going to be a good nugget to
Okay, good.
share, and I needed to hear that this week. So thank you
No,
for sharing
absolutely.
that. Truly, because
Yeah.
it can. I was telling a friend yesterday. I said it's kind of a grind,
Yeah.
and I've had reminders. I've been out quite a bit this week, especially, and to rounds and stuff. And then in different venues, and I'm watching people and listening and loving the music and the stories and everything, but then I'm also watching, things switch out and equipment and, people come, and especially those who are out there, the singer-songwriters who are out there, and
Mhm.
they're hauling their gear by themselves, and then they're playing their hearts out, and people may or may not, depending on the venue, may or may
Mhm.
not be listening, and then they pack it all up, and I'm like, "Oh my word." It's just, and I think whatever you posted something not long ago that was just talking about the hard things, and I think that's kind of what I'm after in this show too, is like those crossroads in our lives,
Mhm.
whether it's music or you're a musician or a writer or an accountant or whatever you're doing in life. Like, our stories matter to share, and I feel like that's one of the things. We're created to be creative,
Mhm.
and we're also created to encourage each other. And so I really appreciate I've seen some posts, you put your heart out there, and I love how you just put that, because I think if we keep focusing on why am I doing this, because it's
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
You watch the numbers and I judge myself.
Right.
I'm constantly like, what's wrong with me if this doesn't happen? And it's like, stop.
Right. Yeah.
Who or what helps inspire you to just keep plugging away, especially with you're in the middle of this right now. Have you recorded everything, or are you just kind of working on it as you go along?
Everything is mostly recorded. In fact, after
Okay.
this, I'll go record some vocals. I'm planning to at Octopus Garden down in Spring Hill. We'll do some vocals down there.
Awesome.
But all the drum tracks are recorded, and most of the instrumental tracks, like 90+%, half of the vocal tracks. So it's really just a matter of like polishing some stuff up,
Hmm.
producing and mixing stuff like that. And so it's mostly done. Everything's decided. There's no structural changes coming. In terms of because once the drum tracks are down, like, well, that's
Hmm.
I can still change some lyrics here and there, and still overdub some parts, but I don't. I'd really like to avoid any rhythmic changes or anything. And it's just the reality of like the situation that I'm in. It was going in, getting it done quick.
Hmm.
I think an ideal situation is spending a lot more time on each song. If you can afford that and you're in that
Hmm.
position, for your own studio or whatever the case may be. But this was going in for 2 days and hammering out 6 songs a day, you know. So to
Wow.
get all the drum tracks and most of the instrumental tracks. And then, I've been back to a different studio a couple times for vocals. And if we're going to do any, if I'm going to do any background vocals and stuff, then, all that can still be done. But it's pretty much mostly done. And it's interesting. I said that it's got like thematic underpinnings and it's sort of like got a concept behind it, but the songs weren't like written in that way. That's just how they were like brought together, which,
Hmm.
goes back to the question you just asked, like what inspires me. I look at it as like essentially my like mission, and like although a couple of the songs might feel a little like preachy or something, most won't. Most are just like typical like songs, but then I still do look at it as essentially my like method, I guess, or hope of like um spreading the gospel and like, communicating us at least a little piece of a story,
I love that.
yeah,
That's
at
cool.
least.
So do you think that the faith part is kind of the thread through all the songs? A little, at least maybe some songs not so much, but still there.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, you probably wouldn't listen to any one song, and even like listening as a whole, it may not be immediately obvious, but because you got some that are just going to feel more like, I guess like a typical party song or something, but that kind of like plays into like the journey, of like I said, it's not a consistent story, but sort of mosaic of stories that play out, and then I'm trying to remember. Oh, so you say, what motivates or who motivates? So, I guess just answer. That was all that to say God,
No,
but
that's, yeah.
but I certainly have like supporters in my life and things, but that's what keeps it going, I guess, or who keeps it going.
hmm I know. I was in a conversation the other day about that, and I thought, I can tell when I start feeling very disconnected, like when I'm trying to do all the things, and sometimes when we're creating and then we have to promote it, that feels weird to me. I'm not
Hmm.
like I'm not about self-promotion
Right.
at all, and I struggle with that. And so I had someone say to me one time, but if you have something you're called to do
Hmm.
and God's equipped you to do it, and you're trying to help people or inspire people or give people a place to come, talk about what they're doing or whatever, if you don't promote that, then they don't know where to find you, and then they don't get to hear what you say or what somebody else might come along and say.
Right.
And that really hit me. I was like, "Oh, okay. Okay, that helps. That makes me feel better
Yeah.
about it." But it's still exhausting.
Yeah.
And so I'm really impressed that you're doing it. And it seems like a really fast turnaround, but the fact that you're doing it and you're getting it out there, that's great. I mean, because a lot of people sit on dreams for a very long time, and they may never see them come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, and so just I know we'll probably get into it some, but like obviously transitioning from band to solo, but I'm still always playing with the band, but just going under my name, I guess. Um, a lot of these songs been getting played live for years, and so it's kind of like it is fast turnaround to get them like recorded and everything, and to get them out there, but a lot of it's been like a long time in the making, you know. Um, and so that's what this first album's a little bit like even transitional because a lot of the guys from previous Waste Major are still on it, and there's a few co-writes with
Mhm.
them, and that was initially too like some of the like trying to like come up with this sound was really more of like a corporate thing, a multi-person thing, um, that'll still ring out a little bit in some of these songs. Um, and so a lot of it is, it is quick turnaround, but it's kind of like long overdue,
Yeah, it's a long
because I've
time in
been
the
playing
making.
live for years without ever really getting any like consistent sound out or consistent like releases, a handful of stuff here and there. But so it's a long time in the making, like you said.
Okay, so don't give up on your dreams,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I mean, would that be something that, okay, because I love it when people say things to us, especially sometimes I feel like God puts things in other people's mouths that I need to hear in that
Yeah.
moment, that
Hmm.
another time I might just blow right by and go, that was
Yeah.
nice. And then sometimes it can like stop me in my tracks. And I
Hmm.
go, oh, like I heard it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Have you had that happen with this whole project? Because I love it that I think you've given some good encouragement to anyone watching and listening that, do your thing, do your creativity, keep at it, and then eventually it might be used in ways you didn't even expect or know. Or um is there anybody who has said something to you that you went, yes, now's the time? Or did it just kind of happen? Because I know you've been playing with Wasted Major for a while, and now you're still with them, but you're also doing this individual project.
Yeah, or really to clarify that, like I still, I would say like the band's really broken up, but I've still
Mm.
like I guess just sort of like run Wasted Major as like with various musicians, playing more the same kind of shows that I was playing while like also doing this, and like trying to get the originals out there and the my songs released and with the trying to get the sound I've been going for. We're still working on obviously, but
Well, and you've
and the
you've
type
been
of
playing some big stages,
yeah,
have
no, I've
you
had
not?
really yeah,
I think
no,
I've
I've really
seen.
had good opportunity to play some fun ones. And it's always kind of this, everyone's journey's different. You hear that all the time, especially in something like this. We're really, I'm sure every aspect of life, but just kind of like pieced here and there, things happening. So, it's been cool. We had a really great show opening for Tracy Bird in Kinston, North Carolina, and just such a warm and receptive crowd that, definitely love to do it again.
Okay, when you do that, how do you prepare? Is it any different for you? So I've seen you in a smaller venue
Hmm.
locally. What is it like? So now you're going out and Tracy Bird, and you're in a bigger venue. Is there any difference, like a pep talk you give yourself, or do you have any different feeling, or is it just I'm doing my music wherever it is?
Yeah, in some ways, I actually think it was like easier because there's almost just this like immediate like legitimacy built in or something. And even if the people don't know you, most of them obviously didn't. They might have gone listen to a song, out of curiosity before, after seeing the name up there or something. But it's kind of like, it's like being up there and having this big screen and like the sound is big, it's like, it's a small stadium. It was a stadium. It's like a minor league baseball stadium. But, it's like kind of this big sound, a big screen, a big stage, and it's just sort of this immediate like legitimacy built in, whereas like sometimes I feel like on the smaller, more intimate settings, you feel like you're really having to earn it a little bit, and you can like really see the crowd's faces, and you're like, you might be fighting for attention sometimes.
Okay, that is interesting. I try really hard in those smaller ones to be very engaged while I'm
Yeah,
watching,
yeah.
because it does. And I had a friend on here, and I co-write some with her, and she actually said she prefers she what did she say? She said, I get way more nervous if I'm playing for a small group
Hmm.
because I can see their faces, and she goes, it just feels so different.
Yeah,
And I would have thought the opposite.
yeah. Well, I get
But so I love hearing that you're the same way, that you go out and you're like, this is great. I'm on this stage and we're here, and I see maybe a sea of faces instead of I'm picking out one or
yeah,
two and seeing if they're, singing along or whatever.
yeah. And for me, I'm probably a little more like front man than like musician, and so like if it's loud and there's energy and the band's going, then you can sort of coast on this sort of energy and stuff. Whereas like if I'm doing like a singer songwriter thing, I have to play that, I get way more nervous with stuff like that. I can hear every little like mistake and like like oh gosh, that sounded out of tune. But when you're sort of rocking out, you don't worry about that stuff so much.
That's a really good point. And by the way, most of the time we're not hearing the
No, I know,
mistakes.
I know. But, like,
But I know that that's hard to um, think through and not feel like that everybody hears it all.
yeah. But to go back, I think you were asking a question like what motivated it for now. Well, a lot of it all goes kind of like hand in hand. I was working on doing this album, whether it was going to be like with the band or not, and so it just sort of like turned out that it was sort of like started that way, but then like I'm more finishing it, and so it was going to happen regardless. But I think things probably happen the way they're supposed to, and so It's a little bit like, um, I guess, like needs to happen now,
Yeah.
because a lot of the shows, that play to pay the bills and things like that are still like cover heavy and stuff, which is probably expected if you don't have, a big song out there. And so it's kind of like, that's why I was glad to come here. So a little bit of a
Yeah.
crossroads, so it's like moving away from that, finishing out those shows and still doing a little booking, with that kind of mindset, but mostly putting the time and energy into the creative aspect and the songs I want to be playing and getting them out there. It's kind of got a sense of urgency about it, you know.
That makes sense. Kind of a different season.
Yeah,
It sounds like,
yeah,
and those can be like really exciting and at the same time a little scary.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely, because then you're like, all right, this is what I'm gonna be doing. But then you look at it and go, but this is how I figured out how to like make a living and um, you know, win over crowds and stuff like that. It's kind of
I love that. I think anytime we can see somebody like really lean into who they are, it's inspiring.
yeah.
So I can't wait to see what happens with your album and
Well,
where you
cool.
go, and I hope I'll still get to see you at the local venues around.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I'll be playing at Fox and Locke as long as they'll let me. It's still my favorite place to play,
Isn't
so,
that a great? I love that place.
yeah, no, I'm a big fan and happy about the community they've built and, just, great venue, all the people that come out to support and all that, so,
I think it's really fun. I've been there on some nights where people have talked about starting there. And
mhm.
like that was the first, like maybe they did an open mic and that
Yeah,
was like the first time they were ever on a stage.
yeah,
And then they go out in the world and they do their thing. And then they come back and they're like, I seriously have almost cried a couple of times
oh,
because I'm such a goober. And I just sit there and go, this is so cool because they're like so grateful to be back on that stage and
yeah,
just like, this is where we started and we feel like we're coming home. And it's been really fun out there,
mhm,
but this is like our people.
yeah,
And I don't know. I love see I'm getting teary. I just think that's a fun, great community-based feel.
mhm. Yeah, no, it helps to have the support and feel like, I know for a lot of people, it's where they feel like they belong and,
Mhm.
it is a lot of support.
And it's amazing to me how much I've been here 5 years, and it's amazing how much talent is around us in this town
Yeah,
and watching all the different layers that people have and what they're individually called to do. Because sometimes I think people come and go, oh, here's that big dream, and that's what I want to do. And then they start
mhm,
doing it and go, no, I'm kind of loving what I'm doing here or
mhm,
whatever. So I think it's incredible when people can discover that bravery to take those steps and do the big things.
yeah,
So kudos.
yeah,
I'm excited.
cool,
So I want to hear because we're going to have you talk about one of your songs and play
mhm,
it for us.
cool.
Sorry, I'll try to act like a big crowd of people.
No, it's all
I don't
good.
have a lighter.
Yeah, no, all good, all good.
um, but I'd love to hear about a song that you've written and you want to do today. Whatever you want. I have no idea what you're going to do, and I know I'm
I still don't
hoping what
either.
you're going to do. Okay,
No, I
cool.
don't know.
All right.
I'll try to think.
It's what no, you whatever in the moment.
Yeah,
That's why I love doing this.
cool. Well, I might just do a little piece of one. Is that all right?
Okay, sure. You
Just
can do whatever you want.
cool.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Is there anything else? Any questions we didn't get to, or anything that I know we kind of bounced around a little? So
No, I love all that we talked about, and I appreciate you sharing what you're doing and sharing a lot of how you got there because I think it's important for us to hear and share our stories
yeah,
and look forward to seeing what happens with you.
I
This is
appreciate it.
cool.
I appreciate it. And I know you asked about the album and kind of the changes in the journey and stuff. And I was wanting to say, I feel like maybe I mentioned that it just sort of seemed also to come together in a way that I hadn't like planned, and it just felt like something that, something bigger than me was like pulling together just for the way like the threads to tie together with the songs and with, people showing up just when I needed them to show
Oh,
up and get things done. And and even that I think the post that you saw mentioned a little bit like this first song. It really was like when I was writing, I was trying to write just like a fun like rocking kind of song, and then it really became more. It's called The Man Upstairs, and you know. Um, Jacob in leaving home has this vision of like the stairway to heaven is called, or like the Jacob's ladder or whatever. And I don't know if you know, but like he's leaving, like the name of the place he's leaving is like Biersheba, which is like a well-watered place, and the place he's going is like Crossroads. And so I thought it was very fitting for your
okay. I love that. And I love
podcast.
this song. So
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely.
Yay.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here. And we're going to let you play us on out.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Tim.
Not that anybody cares, but I'm a getting out of here. I've been trying to earn your love for too long. And if they ask you where did I go, tell them I'm in Nashville laying low, writing country songs for all of these city folks. But these kids can't sing my life, and that girl went and turned the knife. So me and the boys, we taking our show out on the road. And that's where I'll be when the rapture comes. On my knees, praying to the sun. Precious Lord, won't you take my hand? Keep them promises you made to me, before you take me home to the promised land. Well, nobody wants to see an old man cry, and nobody wants to see a young man die. Now I'm caught somewhere between old memories and dreams, and we've put to death what's left between you and I. But these kids can't sing my songs, and that girl left me alone. So me and the boys, we taking our show out on the road. And that's where I'll be when the rapture comes. On my knees, praying to the sun. Precious Lord, won't you take my hand? Keep them promises you made to me, before you take me home to the promised land. That's where I'll be when the rapture comes. On my knees, praying to the sun. Precious Jesus, take my hand. Keep them promises you made to me. Lord, I've struggled mightily. Break these chains and set me free, before you take me home to the promised